Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Kakadash, double honor to the elders and apostles of great millstone that rule well, and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect of Israel, scattered all over the world, no matter how you look like in the flesh, but through the spirit of the Most High, through the characteristics that are given in the scriptures, the prophecies concerning our people, and the curses. According to the Bible, it reveals that we are the children of God, which is you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, Hispanics, and the scattered. Anyways, the topic of this video, as you've seen in the beginning of this video, what are UFOs? What are these aerial phenomena? And were they recorded in the Bible? The answer is yes. You may have seen films like Independence Day. You may have seen films like War of the Worlds. You may have seen films like The Knowing. And all of these films, these Hollywood films, the directors get their ideas and information from the Bible. Even the movie Knowing was very specific because they actually went into this scripture, the book of Ezekiel. So let's read it. Ezekiel chapter 1. Now it came to pass in the 30th year, in the 4th month, in the 5th day of a month, as I was among the captives by the river of Sheba, that the heavens were opened, and I saw visions of God. In the 5th day of a month, which was the 5th year of King Jehoshaphat's captivity, the word of the Lord came especially unto Ezekiel the priest, the son of Buzi, in the land of the Chaldeans by the river Sheba, and the hand of the Lord was there upon him. And I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud, and a fire enfolding itself, and the brightness was about it, and out of the midst thereof as the colour of amber, and of the midst of a fire, out of the midst of a fire. So already, what is Ezekiel seeing? He's seeing what you call a so-called UFO, unidentified flying object, or aerial phenomenon. And these are heavenly, angelic vehicles, just like we have vehicles on earth, cars, planes, trains, transport. These are heavenly transports, heavenly vehicles. They're called the chariots of God. A chariot is a vehicle, not typically used by, horses pushing forward the cart, the horses push the cart, which cart is basically like car is a shortening word of cart, Anyways, the horses in ancient times, the old school transportations, you had donkeys or whatever, camels, people still use it, and horses, people still use it as well. But the horses used to carry the cart for transportation, and it says a whirlwind came out of the north, so it was like a whirlwind. Bursts of air, circular motion, Sometimes it can create a tempest. A great cloud. These chariots, these so-called UFOs, are also known as a great clouds. So sometimes when you see, the Bible will talk about the chariots of God as clouds. It's another term of these so-called UFOs, clouds. They dwell and hover around the clouds as well. They can camouflage and stuff like that. And also clouds, when you see clouds in the sky, the wind is moving it. So it looks like it's hovering. It's the same thing with these heavenly chariots. They float in the sky. Clouds, they float in the sky. So using the terminology back then wasn't as maybe as powerful as of now to describe it. Well, those are the terminologies they were used to or could describe it by calling it a cloud. And it said fire enfolding itself, and brightness was about it. And the mist, and out of the mist whereof as the color of amber, and out of the mist of a fire. And that's why a lot of times when you see UFOs or these UFO sightings, they're like a light orb, a fiery light orb, they shine bright. Sometimes they'll show it to be more visible, like the work of it, the material, whatever, the aesthetics of it. But a lot of times you see it as like a bright, light, fiery orb of different colors, different shapes, different sizes, whatever. Verse 5. Also out of the mist whereof came the likeness of 4 living creatures, and this was their appearance. So this is the appearance of these creatures, right? That dwell in these vehicles, these heavenly, spiritual, unique vehicles that people call UFOs or aerial phenomenons. They had the likeness of a man. Now that's interesting. You got scientists and people that study biology and stuff like that. They'll use the terminology of humanoid. Like humanoid, something that refers to mankind or looks like a man. So these creatures, these beings, what people call aliens, which the word alien just means stranger or foreign, and it ain't no little grey or green men with big head and big eyes. The scripture is going to give you a description of them, but it says they had the likeness of a man, so it looks like what people call, a human being, a person, a man, a grown adult man. Right? And really and truly, it's not that they look like us. It's in fact we look like them. And you might be saying, why did I say that? Because when you read the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse 26, and God said, let us make man, us, mankind. And God said, let us make man in our image and after our likeness. So it's not like I said, it's not the fact that they look like us. No, we look like them because we were created by them, the angels, by the angels and the Lord, the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, the Son, Yahweh Shai, and the angels. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the fowl of the air and over the cattle and over all of the earth. So, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. And God blessed them. And God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. Now you may be confused where it says, but it just says God. It doesn't say the angels or other people created us. Read it carefully in Genesis 1:26. And God said, let us make man in our image. So 2 things you need to focus. It says God. What we need to look up what God is referring to in this passage, this verse. And number 2, which should spark your interest, it says, let us. In order for someone to say, let us, that means you must be surrounded by other people, other entities, other beings. It wouldn't make sense for you to be alone and say, let us. When you're with your friends and you want to go out, you say, hey, all go out. Let us all go out. Why? Because you're referring to your friends, the people that you're with, accompany with. You see? It says, let us, which is plural, multiple, meaning more than one. So let's look at the word God. In this passage. Now, so as it's written, this is Syrian Hebrew. It says this should be Allahayim. Allahayim is the right way to pronounce it, but obviously English is going to say Elohim or whatever.
Strong's H 430, entry 1. Eloach. Eloach. Second entry, Elohim. Elohim. And the third entry, Eloach. Eloach.
So here they got different entries, but the proper way of saying it is Allahayim. If anybody's familiar with the Paleo Hebrew, original Hebrew, Lashwan Kodash, we learn Hebrew, original Hebrew, and we study it. But anyways, the Allahayim, breaking into two words, the Allah means God, right? And that's not God's name. Just for you, in case you Muslims get excited, Allah just means power, God, power. Force, power, God. Then the Yam, for the Allahayim, Yam means plural, means two or more, multiple, right? So multiple gods. Yeah. In this case, in that verse, as it says there, root word etymology, plural. And proof, outline of biblical usage, plural. It didn't say singular, it said plural, meaning multiple. It says rulers, judges, divine ones, angels, gods. Yeah. Now it does have singular meaning, but of this biblical usage, the first one that it was put there was plural, and to prove it more, well, I already proved it more for the Spirit, and obviously the elders and apostles of Great Millstone of GMS, they've proved this already time after time, many times, But as I just read before in the verse, it said "let us," which obviously proves that it has to be plural, anyways. You see. Of Supreme God, then it says difference to magistrates, sometimes as superlative, angels, exceeding God, gods, multiple, great, judges, mighty, right? So that's that. So back in Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 5, so, and this was their appearance. They had the likeness of a man, right? So a lot of angels look like men. Verse 6, and everyone had 4 faces. Can you believe that? And everyone had 4 wings. So these angels, these creatures that look like men, which are angels, which people call aliens, right? They look like men, and a lot of them have 4 faces. Obviously, there may be different forms for different angels in different ranks. Some angels which were recorded in the Bible had 6 wings, but here it says everyone had 4 wings. So there's difference. Anyways, and everyone had 4 faces, and everyone had 4 wings. So can you imagine a human being with 4 faces, 4 heads? Picture that in your mind. How scary that must look, how weird that must look. and their feet were straight feet, and the sole of their feet was like the sole of calf's foot. Right? Their feet were straight, and the sole of their feet were like calf's foot. So I was talking about their feet. They had feet like you may have see a lot of Greek mythology copied this, and anyways a lot of Israelites were in the time of when Greece and Rome was the empire that was on top. And if you know Greek mythologies and whatever, they have like weird creatures. Like I think there's one character like in Mortal Kombat, one of the enemies is like a man with horse feet and stuff like that, horse body and shit like that. He's got horns in his head and stuff like that. You see stuff like that in Greek mythology. The movie Narnia, you have a character, I believe, he's like a man, but his legs, his bottom half, he's got feet of like a, I don't know, like a donkey, goat, whatever. So it's kind of similar here. It says, and their feet were straight feet, and the sole of their feet was like the sole of a calf's foot. A calf. And they sparkled, they shined, like the color, so the Bible's using color, of burnished brass, burnt brass, bronze type color, copper type color, but shiny. So these beings, these so-called, what people call aliens, which are angels, right? They're people, they're melanated, they're of color, they're brown, dark brown, like so-called Negroes, different shades of brown or whatever, but they have an aura. And they had the hands of a man under their wings of their four sides, so they had like man's hands, and they four had their faces and their wings. Their wings were joined one to another. They turned not when they went. They went everyone straight forward. As of the likeness of their faces, now it's describing their face, their head, in detail. They four had the face of a man, so they had a man's head, a man's face, the eyes, nose, ears, mouth, all of that, hair, beard, whatever, and the face of a lion. So imagine that. On the side of that man's face, to the left or the right, you have a lion head, like with its mane, vicious, angry lion to the side. On the right side, and they four had the face of an ox. On the left side, an ox. They four also had the face of an eagle. So imagine that. A man's face, a lion's face, an ox face, and an eagle's face all in one. That is scary. But yeah, verse 11. Thus were their faces, and their wings were stretched upward. Two wings of every one were joined one to another, and two covered their bodies. And they went, everyone straight forward, wherever the spirit was to go. They went, and they turned not when they went. As for the likeness of the living creatures, their appearance was like burning coals of fire, and like the appearance of lamps glowing shiny, It went up and down among the living creatures. And the fire was bright, and out of the fire went forth lightning, Well, it reminds me of Dragon Ball Z. You know, when the characters are turned Super Saiyan, or even like Super Saiyan 2, you have the yellow fiery aura around them and electric circling up around their body. Right? And the living creatures ran and returned as the appearance of a flash of lightning. You see that? These creatures can materialize, and translocate, teleport. They're faster than flash, faster than the speed of light. Okay? That's why these military people, they can't capture them, man. How the hell are you gonna capture something that is the appearance of flash of lightning? Are you idiot? That's BS when they said a flying saucer crashed and landed. Are you serious? You know. Now, as I beheld the living creatures, behold. Now this is where it's gonna get interesting of the vehicle of what they drive, which is basically the topic of this video. So UFOs, right? Identify flying objects and aerial phenomena. Behold one wheel upon the earth by the living creatures with his four faces. The appearance of the wheels and their work. You know, how they look like, the structure of it. These vehicles. Yeah? Notice it's saying wheels, circular. The appearance of their wheels and their work was like unto the color of beryl. I believe that's like a greenish color. And obviously, there's different shapes, sizes, and colors of these vehicles. And they four had one likeness, and the appearance of their work was as it were a wheel in the middle of a wheel. So wheels, which are circular. You know, a wheel within a wheel. That's where you get the term, the modern term, which came out, I believe, in the late 1940s, 50s, early 50s, of the flying saucer, the flying disc-shaped object, the UFOs. See? A wheel in the middle of a wheel. The main frame and I believe what they call it, the protractor beam, you know, where the light source comes out of, it's like the mouth of the frame. When they went upon their four sides, and they turned not when they went. As for the rings, they were so high that they were dreadful. Their rings, wow. As for their rings, they were so high that they were dreadful, and their rings were full of eyes round about them four. The circumference of these vehicles are so big, obviously different, like again, different shapes and sizes, but it's so big and dreadful. So he was so scared of how big they were. Right? I believe you had video footage of NASA, a big flying object that was passing the Earth, and it was bigger than the Earth. A big golden UFO. As for the rings, they were so high that they were dreadful. So scary to look. Heart pumping. And their rings were full of eyes round about them four. Yeah, that's where you get, you know, the typical UFO design look in pictures. The disc shape with a lot of lights around it. You know, they can be symbolic to eyes, and anyways, these angels are like hitmen or agents for the Lord. The angels are like CCTV cameras, man. Esau's got his, you know, his satellites and CCTV, his cameras and stuff like that. Well, the angels are that for the Lord, because they watch and they look. They're everywhere around you. you know, and they're spiritual beings and can manifest to be physical. Multiple are around you right now. You know? That's why you got to fear the Lord. Ask the Lord to have mercy, man. But anyways, verse 19, and when the living creature went, the wheels went by them. And when the living creatures were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up. So they maneuver these vehicles. They have control of these vehicles. Whatsoever the spirit was to go, they went. Thither was their spirit to go, and the wheels were lifted up over against them. For the spirit of the living creature was in the wheels. The spirit of the living creature was in the wheels, moving the wheels. Wherever the angels wanted to go, the vehicle will follow. It's the same thing as a car. Yeah, your spirit is in that car because you're turning the steering wheel. You're pressing hard on the gas. You determine how fast the car goes, how it turns, left, right. If you want to reverse, your spirit is in that car. You move it. Well, these angels moved the UFOs. Those went, these went. And when those stood, they stood. And when those were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up over against them. For the spirit of a living creature was in the wheels. And the likeness of a firmament upon the heads of a living creature was as the color of a terrible crystal, stretched forth over their heads above. And under the firmament were their wings straight, the one towards the other. Every one had two, which covered on their side, and every one had two, which covered at that side their bodies. So their wingspan must have been very big, because it was covering their bodies and their sides. And when they went, I heard the noise of their wings, like the noise of great waters. So wait a minute, even their wings were powerful. As the voice of the Almighty, the voice of His speech, as the voice of an host. When they stood, they let down their wings. And there was a voice from the firmament that was over their heads when they stood and had let down their wings. And above the firmament there was, over their heads, was like the likeness of a throne. It's the Lord, a bigger, most likely a bigger UFO, or it was a bigger UFO, bigger chariot above them, above these angels, in the heavens, in the sky, a crack in the clouds, as the appearance of a sapphire stone, and upon the likeness of a throne was the likeness, as the appearance of a man above it. And as I saw the color of amber, as the appearance of a fire round about within it, from the appearance of his loins even upwards, and from the appearance of his loins even downwards, I saw as it were the appearance of fire, and it had brightness round about, and the appearance of a bowl like a rainbow. I should put a picture there to show you a description. As the appearance of a bowl that is in the cloud in the day of rain, rainbow. So it was the appearance of a brightness around about it, multicolored. This was the appearance of a likeness of the glory of the Lord. And when I saw it, I fell upon my face, and I heard a voice of one that spake. So you're going to hear, especially in the last days, these chariots, these heavenly vehicles, these so-called UFOs. Some people already experienced them already, but you're going to hear noises and voices, loud sound waves coming from this, man. When you watch the beginning of this video, you heard the man talking about when there was UFO sightings in certain locations, there was electrical disturbances, man. And it shows you in like certain films when there's a threat from outer space, they take control of the space stations. They take control of technology, your silos, your nuclear missiles. They take control of your radio, TV stations, and communicate. They show you that in these alien invasion films, right? But everyone's is gonna experience it. Everyone's gonna hear the voice of the Lord, and it's gonna be terrible and scary. Listen to what the prophet said. This was the appearance of a likeness of the glory of the Lord, and when I saw it, I fell upon my face. So that should tell you everything. He fell. His face was touching the ground when he heard it. When he saw it, when he heard it, he didn't know what to do with himself. I fell upon my face, and I heard a voice of one that spake. Shalom to the next. UFOs are real. Aerial phenomena are real, and they are the heavenly chariots, angelic vehicles of God. And they have existed thousands of years since, before the creation of man. And they were a part of the creation of man, as I've just read already. But anyways, with that, shalom.
Don't you dare touch me! Stand back! No! No!
Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him. Even so, Amen.